scheduled town board meeting for the town of Newburgh. First order of business is roll call. Mrs. Green?
Here.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Is
Mr.
he
Ruggiero?
unmuted?
Muted.
Paul, can you unmute yourself?
Present.
Okay, that's better.
Mr. Manley?
Here.
And Mr. Piaquadio?
Here.
Okay, everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag
Flag of
of the United States of America,
and
to the republic for which it
which stands
stands, one
one nation,
nation,
Under God.
under God, indivisible,
indivisible, with
Liberty.
with liberty and justice
justice for
for
all.
all.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Next, we go on to item 4. Mr. Supervisor, are there any changes to the agenda?
Well, 2 will be removed. Item 10 will be removed, the Recreation Department part-time hire, and item 14 will be removed, awarded a GPS locator. We're still waiting on more prices to come in.
Okay, so that's item 10 and item 14.
Correct. I don't know if anyone else has anything to come off or
No,
go
I have
on.
nothing.
I have nothing.
I have nothing.
Okay, next we go on to item 5, approval of audit.
Looking for a motion to approve this audit in the amount of $2,094,516.41. If someone can make that motion.
I'll move.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yeah.
And Mr. Piaquadio?
Yes.
Okay, next we go to appointment of council person.
All right, so the town board conducted interviews of 13 applicants for the position of councilman in the town of Newburgh. Somebody's got a lot of background noise. I don't know if somebody has to be muted, Bobby. Can you hear the background? Okay. It was a difficult choice, but after all considered, the board went with Anthony Lobiondo. Anthony is a lifelong resident of the town of Newburgh. He is married to Juliana, his wife, for over 22 years. His son, Christian, is a cadet, second class in the United States Air Force Academy. Their other son, Michael, is a high school sophomore. The Lobiondo family provides annual scholarships to graduating seniors at Newburgh Free Academy. Anthony's a former member of the Board of Directors of Children's Rights Society. He's a former member of the Board of Directors of Newburgh Rowing Club. Anthony obtained a Bachelor of Arts degree from Binghamton University and majored in law and society. He received a Juris Doctorate degree from Albany Law School in 1991. Anthony was admitted to the New York State Bar since 1992. He was admitted to federal court, Southern District of New York, since 1997. He's a member of the Orange County Bar Association. He's the past president of the Middletown Bar Association. From 1991 to 1997, he was assistant district attorney for the Orange County District Attorney's Office. And he's been in private practice since 1997 until the present. I am proud to say I know him, and the town board has made an outstanding choice. So at this point, I'm asking for a motion to appoint Anthony Lobiondo, councilman for the town of Newburgh, with a starting date of today, July 13, 2020, with an annual salary of $19,328.93. This appointment is to the office left vacant by the resignation of James Pursuti. And in accordance with New York State law, the position will be on the ballot during this November election. And this appointment will run through November 31st, 2020, unless there are extraordinary circumstances. So with that, I'm going to take a moment here to go down the hall and do a swearing in. And I want to ask whatever council people and town clerk here to be present in that room. And again, we'll exercise distance and masks, most of us. So we're going to go down the hall now. Thank you for waiting.
There'll be a camera in the room, Gil?
But I guess you and I can vote from right here.
Hey, Gil, can you hear me right now?
Can't hear him.
I can hear you,
Whoa,
Scott.
it's not very loud, Scott.
Motion or anything?
I was about to indicate that as well. The board needs to vote on the appointment.
Yeah, we're going to do that right now, Mark. We're going to do the vote right now. You had a motion in a second. No. So someone want to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Somebody want to second that motion?
Go ahead.
Let's talk.
The motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
We'll make it appear in the picture.
I can't blow it up. But, okay, I just moved it. We're all, yeah, you're all. Anthony, please repeat after me. I, Anthony,
I, Anthony,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will
the
support
Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will fulfill, discharge the duties
and I will fulfill and discharge the duties
of office of councilman
of office of councilman
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
We have to sign the book. Now just stand by, because hopefully Anthony's going to say a few words too.
If you want to go up on the dais and take one this way, so that you see, get all the action in. Oh, no, they moved too fast.
Bobby, can you turn it? Oh, I'm sorry. So now that Anthony is a councilman, I want to just assign his liaison position, so he'll be liaison to the Justice Courts, Receiver of Taxes, Highway Department, Fleet Maintenance, and Buildings and Grounds. And I guess those are really my appointments there. So with that, Anthony, please.
Good evening. It is an honor and a privilege to be appointed as the next Town of Newburgh councilman. And I sincerely thank the members of the board for their trust and confidence in me. As the supervisor has stated, I am a lifelong resident of the town of Newburgh. My wife, Juliana, and I have been married for 22 years, and we have raised my 2 boys, Christian and Michael, here in this community that we love. And I could not be more proud to represent this growing and resilient community. Town government is the direct link and connection to our citizens. It shapes, it protects, and it enhances our community. Our town has been very fortunate to enjoy an effective and responsive and efficient town government. And I promise that I will devote myself wholeheartedly to give careful consideration to all matters that come before the board and to continue the tradition that has made us Newburgh. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Oh, I was wondering how you guys did it. Very high tech. Fantastic. You said it. I agree wholeheartedly.
Very much.
Yes, absolutely. You're very glad.
I am, but some mornings I just feel like making pancakes.
Oh, good stuff.
Joe and Michelle, if I could just interject, Gil misstated the end of the term. It's December 31st, not November 31st, when he made his motion. I may have misheard it, but I just want that to be clear.
Somehow when you talk, it's picking up on my mic.
Oh, sorry.
Joseph, we could move on if you're ready.
I'm ready. Next, we go on to item 7, agreement with consulting engineering firm.
Okay, so here, as we know, James Osborne is retiring on the 15th, our full-time engineer, and he's agreed to stay on a part-time basis, like a few hours a week. But as a transition, we've done interviews with 2 engineering firms, and we actually came up with one that we felt would be a good fit for us. So, and that was McGooey, Hauser, and Etzel. So I'm looking for someone to make a motion that we go with McGooey, Hauser, and Etzel, and their contract's going to be subject to our attorney's review. Someone
So
want to
moved.
make that motion?
So move.
I'll second.
Councilman Manley, did you second that, please?
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 8, which is a settlement with Orchard Hills.
All right, and again, this is a certiorari case, and it's a settlement for the Orchard Hills complex, apartment complex. Kathy Drobny has reviewed it. The school district has agreed with it, Marlborough School District. So based on that, I'd like someone to make a motion to agree to this settlement, which is actually in the courts right now.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 9 for the Justice Court. Start process to hire court clerk.
All right. Justice Richard Clarino has had a person leaving his staff, and he's looking to start the process to hire a court clerk. And of course, that's on the county list. So this process starts now, but then we'll order the list and do interviews. So I'm looking for someone to make a motion to okay him to start the process to hire a court clerk.
So move.
I'll second.
Any further discussion?
I do want to make one note here. On the paperwork that came with the folder, it calls for a part-time. No, I'm sorry. I'm missing a paper then. Okay, never mind.
But you were thinking about the labor at recreation. That we
That's
took off the
right.
agenda. Yes.
Don't have
Okay.
the piece of papers in here for court clerk, so
Very good.
I
Debbie.
apologize.
Okay.
Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Item 10 has been deleted. We go on to item 11 for animal control. Item A, Flannery Animal Hospital.
All right, so in this one, our Cheryl Cunningham, our animal control officer, is looking to expend $30 from the T94 account, and that's a donation account, not a taxpayer. And this is to Flannery Animal Hospital. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Then we go on to 11B, which is Newburgh Veterinary Hospital.
Okay, so again, Cheryl Cunningham has looked to expend $454.12 from the T94 account, and that's with the Newburgh Veterinarian Hospital. So someone want to make that motion?
So move.
I'll second.
And I really want to thank Paul Ruggiero, liaison to animal control, who really monitors these bills very carefully too. So thank you, Paul.
You're welcome. I try.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Next, we go on to item 12 on the Ethics Board, 2 committee member reappointments. Item A is William G. Murphy, Jr.
All right, so we're looking for a motion to reappoint William G. Murphy Jr. because his term expires July 31st, 2020. And Joseph, I believe these are 5-year terms, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so that motion will be for a 5-year term for William Murphy. Someone want to make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
And then we go on to item B for Mr. James Eberhart.
Again, we're looking for a motion for James Eberhart for a 5-year appointment. And he also ends, I think that when does he end, Joe? The same thing?
Yes, sir. July 31st,
He
2020.
would end July 31st, so it'll be 5 years from July 31st, 2020. So someone will make that motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second your motion.
Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Manley, I didn't hear you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lobiondo
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Then we have item 13, work site agreement with Summer Youth Employment Program.
All right, so on this one, we done this last year, and Orange County actually has a program where certain families can apply, where there's certain income is kind of on the low side, and they can apply, and their sons or daughters, the county will actually pay them and then assign them somewhere as interns, if you would, paid by the county. And last year we had a young fellow worked out very well, happened to work with my son, Robert. Robert's the reservoir caretaker at Chadwick, and worked out very well. And we're going with the program again. Hopefully we'll get someone just as good, if not the same person. But they need a constant mentor. Someone has to be with them all the time because some of them are young. We're just going with one this time. So if someone just make a motion to agree with the Summer Youth Employment Program.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second your motion.
I apologize. Who made that first? Who made the motion, please?
I did. Betty Green.
Thank you. And who seconded the motion, please?
I think Paul did.
Yes, I did.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Mrs. Green,
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero,
Yes.
Mr. Manley,
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo,
Abstain.
and Mr. Piaquadio.
Yes.
Okay, item 14 has been deleted. Next, we go to item 15 for announcements.
Okay. And in the announcements, real quick, we will have public comments too, but I just want to mention I was asked electronically here if the ethics board is paid, and the ethics board members are not paid. It was totally volunteer, actually. And any ethics board members that appointed has to be appointed by the entire board. So it's like it's got to be 5-0 in order to appoint an ethics person to the ethics board. And they meet once a year unless they're called upon, especially for additional meetings. So that's that. So other than the announcements, again, I want to thank everyone that's here and came to the meeting. I want to congratulate Anthony Lobiondo. I think New York seems to be doing pretty good as far as the number of people deceased, which is excellent, but other parts of this country are not doing so well. So we could just, hope, and those of us who pray that things will definitely get better and we'll all be together someday in a real room and be able to talk. So next I'll go to Betty. Betty, do you have any announcements for us?
The only thing is wear your mask, stay healthy, and as Gil Piaquadio said, maybe we can all be together in the same room. That's it.
Thank you. Paul, you got anything?
Just want to congratulate Anthony and thank for all the other applicants, for coming out and, giving it a try. And, there's always a next time too, but Anthony, congratulations.
Thank you, Paul.
Scott, you got anything?
I got a few quick things. First of all, obviously, congratulations, Anthony. It was very hard with 13 people, and I had brought it up to a couple of the interviewees. I was also appointed, but not the first time. I had to go back for a second time. I did not get it the first time, so please, everybody, keep that hope alive. Also want to thank our recreation department. And if you take a look on their webpage, there's several programs they are starting this summer, and they're getting back. They got the outdoor gym, the playground open. They're doing dynamite job. There's no junior police academy, but we do have a leadership academy, which is kind of a abbreviated type of police thing. So please take a look at that. And I think that's about it. Gil, I don't know if you can hear me, but on that electronic thing, it asked about the ethics committee. It's also asking about that certiorari settlement.
We'll talk about that in a second, absolutely.
Thank you.
Mark, if you're there, could you want to just give us a little bit on the Orchard Hills settlement that we're dealing with?
Sure. Orchard Hills is a large apartment complex off of 9W towards the northern end of the town near Cedar Hill Cemetery. It appealed its assessment for the years 2017, 18, 19, and actually this year as well. This year it hasn't gotten to the stage where it's gone to court yet. It's still before the Board of Assessment Review. The settlement provides for reductions for each of those years in question. It was originally assessed approximately $13 million, which unfortunately I don't have it in front of me, but it's an approximate market value of 50 million. And the reductions were approximately 1 million each year. In 2019, the assessment was actually reduced, but it's still a reduction of approximately the same amount. And in 2020, the assessment will be reduced to a $9 million figure. That assessment will remain in place for 3 years absent any major changes in condition or townwide reevaluation or certain other triggers under state statutes. The town's liability will be just north of $100,000 for the 3 years where it will have to repay the assessment. That includes both town and highway, but not water district. The school district will have a refund liability well in excess of $500,000. And they are given I believe it's a 3-year period to repay that larger amount under the terms of the settlement.
All right, thank you, Mark. And Joseph, if the viewers go to additional items under the agenda, they should be able to actually see that settlement as it's described. Is that true, Joe?
Yes, I'll check. But I thought I put it
It is.
online, but I'll check after this meeting. If it's not on there, I'll put
You'll
it on there.
put it on there, and this way everyone could see it who's interested in it.
Yeah,
All right,
I'll
excellent.
put it on. I'll put it on tonight.
Thank you, Joseph. So with that, we'll go to public comments. Anyone who has a question for the board. Yeah, Bobby, I don't know how you would do it. You want to unmute them one at a time and see if they have a question? We'll ask them. Okay, we're going to go down the listeners and mute them one at a time, see if they have a question. So who's the first one, Bob?
Bill Fetter.
Okay, so Bill Fetter is the first one. Bill, you have a question? So unmute Bill. Let's see.
Well, yes. There you go.
No questions, thanks. I just joined in. I'm sorry to be late. So thank you.
Thank you, Bill. And who else we got, Bobby?
Christian's iPhone.
All right, we got Christian's iPhone out there. So if Christian has a question for us, we'll listen to her.
And if they stay muted, I assume.
Unless you're muted on your end, because
They're unmuted now.
she's unmuted. Okay. Any questions for the board, Christian? Okay.
Hey, Donette.
Hearing Donette, I think we should have texted to us. Donette, do you have anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Who else, Bobby?
E.T. for you.
E.T.?
Yeah.
Okay, whoever E.T. is out there, E.T., it's your turn if you want to say anything.
He's still muted.
Yeah.
So he has to unmute.
But I think you have to unmute yourself, E.T., if you want to say something. If you don't have a question, that's okay too.
Crystal, he's-
Okay, E.T., and then who else we got, Bobby?
All right, I'm unmuted.
There's E.T. Oh, there he is. Now I know who you are. Ernest, that's how you doing, Mr. Torado?
Ernesto Torado, 89 Lakeside Road. I have two questions concerning the appointment of councilperson. First, let me just congratulate Anthony Lobiando for the appointment. Though it wasn't a surprise. You mentioned that there were 13 other applicants. Is there a possibility of knowing who the other applicants were?
I think that's a question for Mark Taylor. Mark Taylor, can we just go with those names or they have to be foiled for?
I believe the submissions of interest are likely subject to FOIL, and accordingly, you could disclose them. I don't think there's an entitlement to privacy if you're under the state statutes with respect to the expressions of interest of board appointments. So.
Right. Okay. So, Mr. Tirado, we can get you that list. I'll get you that list by email or somehow.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay, good deal.
And the other question is, when you was enumerating Mr. Lobiando's resume, I don't know if you failed to mention, and I want to ask, was he also the attorney for the town Republican Party?
Mr. Lobiando, do you want to answer that question yourself?
You know, I'm having trouble hearing him because I have the blower on. Can you maybe repeat his question?
He wants to know if you're the attorney for the Republican Party.
No, I am not.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're a member of the party, but you're not. I don't even think we really have an attorney, to tell you the truth, Ernesto. But okay.
All right, thank you very much.
And thank you. Who else we got, Bobby? Didn't Tim Ingram was out there?
We got John Bowser.
John Balger. If you unmute yourself, you have a question, we'll entertain it.
No, actually, you answered the question that I wanted to. Thank you.
All right, thank you, John. Who else, Bobby?
Kamala, Johnny,
Kamala is the first name?
K-O-M-L-A.
K-O-L.
K-O-M-L-A.
K-O-M-A-L-A. Kamala, if you're out there and have a question.
No question.
Unmute. Oh, there you
Just
are. How you doing? Okay. Now I
I'm
know
doing
you
all
are.
right. Just
Good to see you.
congratulating Anthony.
Thank you.
And welcome
sir.
on board.
Thank you.
Lauren Mendel.
All right. Lauren, you have anything else, Lauren Mendel?
Hi, this is Lauren from 7 Rockwood Drive. Lauren Mandel, thank you for asking. I did have just a couple of things I just wanted to mention. Once again, I'm going to be doing a Narcan training for the town of Montgomery tomorrow. If anybody's interested, you can register online with Sergeant Detective Farina, and he'll get you the link, and you can get Narcan trained and get a Narcan kit. I also just want to say a special thank you to Scott. I reached out to him because I'm in my paid job. I'm a clinical manager at a home care agency right in Newburgh, and we were having a surgical mask shortage. There's a national shortage of them again. And Scott linked me up with someone who's 2 people. One person, I'm not going to say the names because I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus, but one person was going to charge us a goodly amount for the masks, but I was willing to pay for it because we were desperate. And then just for kicks, I called the other person, and that gentleman is in my mind a hero because he is just charging us what he paid for them. And we're a very small nonprofit home care agency. So we like these exorbitant prices that we've been paying for equipment is throwing us, practically to bankruptcy. So I was so grateful to this gentleman, and we're buying like 2,000 masks from him for our nurses and our clinicians because we go through about 250 masks every day. So I just really wanted to say thank you to Scott for that connection because I would have been price gouged had it not been for you. So thank you.
You're welcome. Glad it worked out.
Yeah, it was super, super helpful. Gosh, what was the other thing I wanted to mention? Oh, yes. And then I just, again, wanted to just question again about the police policies in Newburgh. And is there going to be a public forum about our practices in terms of hiring a diverse workforce and our practices around dealing with the public in terms of sensitivity and mental health, because it's such a prominent issue in our community, in our state, of course, but also in Orange County and specifically Newburgh, because we don't have an acute psychiatric hospital in Newburgh anymore. We used to have Cornwall, but we don't. It hasn't for a long time. So I was just wondering what the plan was for that regarding the police. And that's my last question. Thank you.
Mandel, thank you. And thank you for what you do as well. I think the governor has mandated every police department has 1 year to put a plan in place to look at their policies and how they deal with the community. So this is all yet to come. All too often, many municipalities have to hire up a civil service list. So sometimes it isn't a fact of what color or religion or whatever you are, but who's ever on that top 3 on that list who took the test. So until they modify that or change it, you just got to go by who's the top 3 on that list when you hire. So with that, but we'll see, because the plan is supposed to change. They have 1 year to change it over the next year. We always seem to be very fortunate with our police and the number of incidents that we have. So I really take my hat off to them, because I think they do a great job. And with that, I don't think I have anything else to say. And there's no one else, Bobby?
Marcia Tenney.
Marcia, you're out there too. Do you want to say anything? I don't know if she's unmuted or she dialed in. I don't know how she's done it.
She's not unmuting, so.
Okay, all right.
Patricia Bear.
Patricia Bear is another one. I think that's out there listening. If you have something to say, if now's the time. If not, that's okay. Thanks for watching.
Rich Steger.
Rich Steger's out there too. Rich, you want to say anything? You got the mic here.
I just wanted to thank the town council for taking the time to interview me for the vacancy position. And I also wanted to congratulate Mr. Lobiondo.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Richard. Is that it, Bobby, as far as?
Darren Scalzo.
Oh,
Darren Scalzo.
okay. Darren's out there. I don't know if he's listening or if he wants to say anything, but maybe he's got no comment. He's just an observer. Who else we got, Bobby?
There's iPhone, but they have no mic, and I think that's it.
Okay, we got one person that has an iPhone but no mic, so I don't think we get many questions there. All right, so with that, I guess.
I do have one comment.
Betty, go ahead.
Yes, I was so concerned about saying about wearing masks that I neglected to start off with. Congratulations to Anthony. Welcome aboard. We look forward to working together with you.
I look forward as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Lauren Mandel had her hand raised.
All right, Lauren, you have another question, Lauren?
Oh, sorry. No, I just wanted to get back to the police for a second, Gil. I just have to say that I also agree with you. I think the police do a great job. So I just wanted to say that. My question wasn't based out of concern for anything that we're doing. I'm just kind of looking at, where we were at. So I agree with you. I do. I'm a big supporter of our local police, and I love them. So.
All right, same here. Thank you. Thank you.
MB Phone.
MB Phone, apparently. If someone's named their computer MB Phone, if they have a question, we'll listen to you.
No questions. Thank you, though.
Okay, thank you. All right, so with that, someone will make a motion to adjourn, and this time, Anthony, I think he's not going to abstain.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn at 7:39. Mrs. Green?
Yes.
Mr. Ruggiero?
Yes.
Mr. Manley?
Yes.
Mr. Lobiondo?
Yes.
And Mr. Piaquadio?
Yes, thank you, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks.